I'm dead now. It kind of pains me to say it because, you know, I genuinely thought we were in for a chance of winning this thing. Like, I wasn't really that fussed about trying to win, and then suddenly, when I found out there was 1,000 diamonds involved, I was like, I'm going to try my best, I'm going to actually win this, like, demise could be mine, and then I die in the next episode. I can't believe it. I mean, it's just a tiny bit disappointing, isn't it? And what's even more disappointing is now Iskall might win. I mean, can you imagine if Iskall wins? I will never hear the end of it. I will literally never hear the end of it, okay? It's an absolute nightmare. Oh, and I should mention that this video is pre-recorded, so there could already be a winner. I'm just not aware of it just yet. And if it's Iskall, I'd rather not be made aware of it, okay? I'd rather just live without realising that Iskall ever won this contest. Anyway, with obviously me being dead, and demise probably coming to a close relatively soon, with I think only 2 alive people left, we should probably do something about the fact that everyone's skins are desaturated, you know? Like, we should do something to actually try and fix up that situation, because it's not a great situation. We can't be in grayscale for the rest of the Hermitcraft season, so I am going to try my best to build up a redstone contraption that will install the life back into people's skins. It's not really a redstone contraption I've ever been able to do before. I've never really done anything like this before, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. If only I knew where my redstone shulker box was. Genuinely, might have totally lost it this time. What was the last redstone contraption I was working on? I had high hopes that it would be over here, but it's not. And I think I owe about 3 spoon moments, so I guess me losing it is now 4 spoon moments, which actually puts us onto the next level. Which makes me wonder, is this thing actually going to work? I haven't tried it on 2 levels, but it does! And this thing's really cool! According to my YouTube comments, it was last seen over here, but I'm not unfortunately seeing any evidence of it. I think there's genuinely a chance that I have fully lost my redstone shulker box. Finally, after all this time, I've actually totally lost it. I'm actually quite proud of myself that I didn't lose it sooner, in a strange way. Right, this one though, I don't think that's a word, but it is now. The unlosable box. Okay, we're going to create a new redstone shulker box, and it's never, ever going to go missing, okay? I'm going to be honest, and not to talk badly about my now deceased old redstone shulker box, but this seems like a million times better. I mean, look at this. We are stacked up with resources. This is much better organised. I'm kind of happy the other one went. Anyway, back over to my death now. As you guys know, I lost a lot of my items during that death. Thankfully, I have a few backup swords, shovels, and pickaxes. But one thing that I didn't have was an axe. So let's get ourselves sorted with one of those. That is... It's not ideal, is it? I mean, that's not perfect. But thankfully, now that I think about it, I don't really chop down trees that much. I have loads of tree farms and things. I can't remember the last time I chopped down a tree. Anyway, I have spent a bunch of time just gathering up all of the resources and things that I think I'm going to need for this build. And we're going to be building it actually over by the demise area. I think that probably makes the most sense, I would have thought. So there is the prize money that I narrowly missed out on. That is quite depressing now that I look at it. But this is the space that we kind of have to work with. There isn't too much room. I originally thought that maybe we could build it somewhere here, but that's a little bit too close to this game. We could build it out over the ocean, but redstone and water, it just does not... That does not sound like a fun time. I mean, it really does depend on how big we decide to make it. There's kind of a gap here. There's a gap there, maybe. I mean, if we built out into this water here, there would be no water, so we could do that. It's so difficult. This is the problem with high-density Minecraft servers, is that you run out of space real fast. Real fast. We could expand into... Tough. After a decent amount of time wandering around just grunting in this general area, I decided to actually fill out this zone. So this space right here is where we're going to be building it. Design-wise, not entirely sure, but I've realised I haven't really told you what we're building. This machine is going to be called the Saturator. That's why I have... Where did I put all my goods... Where did I put all my stuff? This machine is going to be called the Saturator. It's going to have all sorts of colours involved. It's going to be... It's just going to be ridiculous, flamboyant. It's going to be fantastic, to be honest with you. I'm going to love it. Originally, I thought I would build like a Super Mario style desaturated pipe and then have crazy colours blasting out the top of it. but I can't for the life of me try and work out how I'm going to make that look good. Well, this is a start, okay, and it looks totally uninspiring right now. Do not worry, it's not going to stay like this. I'm actually going to run back to my base. I'm going to pick up a bunch of glass, and then we're going to head up to an area in the shopping district that I haven't been to a while, that, as you guys know, it's probably one of my favorite areas. I absolutely love having this enormous super smelter here that just seems to always have resources in it. It's amazing. I also absolutely love the fact that Exuma Void has built this thing in the shopping district where I can get tons upon tons of wool without having to bother with sheep and things. So we are going to do a relatively large acquisition here, but it is for the good of the server. Now things are starting to look a little bit more colourful. So first off, I'm going to build up like the guidelines of where these pipelines are going to go, and then I'm going to surround them in glass. So you should begin to see all of these colours kind of being pumped out of the ground and into the sides of this pipe. I don't I don't know what sort of use there would be for this, in that it's pipes flowing into one big pipe. I don't know, but it does look cool. Now that I've actually built up the glass around one of these pipes, I definitely prefer it without any of the glass. And I can promise you, I originally tried it out without these corner blocks here, without these edges, and it looks slightly better than this, to be honest with you, but it still didn't look that good. And now I feel like I might have gone a little bit too overboard with the pipes. I don't know, actually. I actually think that looks quite cool. Okay, the one thing that I will say is I think that on the edges of this pipe, I think there should be, almost like what we've done with the floor, I think we should get more light grey concrete and we should build kind of circles around it. Yeah, that's probably a good move. Or not. That looks awful. Okay, I think we need to do some work around the base of this thing. I think that's what's really going to help us. So we're going to use a lot more grey around this area, so it's all going to be desaturated. The only colour is going to be in the pipes. Oh, and then of course we are going to build all of the colours blasting out the top as well. That's like the next stage. And actually I think that's the stage that I'm going to work on now, because I've put a little bit of time into removing some more of the pipes, and now it looks a tiny bit cleaner. I've also moved some of the pipes around, and I'm much happier with it. I think it's looking much cooler. So yeah, let's start doing some of this action. It already looks cooler. It already looks ridiculous. Okay, I'm feeling good now. I was feeling scared with this build, maybe not working out how I imagined, but now I'm feeling good. And scared is the right word, by the way, because there's a weird amount of pressure that comes with building things for Hermitcraft episodes. Like, you have to make sure that it kind of looks good. Because A, there's so many good people on the Hermitcraft server. There's loads of awesome builders on here, so you're kind of not necessarily competing with them, but you can't build something horrendously ugly, because it will definitely stand out as being horrendously ugly. But also the viewers, you guys are harsh. If something looks bad, you are certain to know it looks bad. I mean, seriously, as someone who isn't really much of a builder, I get so terrified putting up some of my builds on YouTube, especially if I'm not sure about them, because I know that the first few comments that come in are just going to completely rip it to shreds. Anyway, these blocks right here should be the final few blocks. So now let's take a look at what this thing actually is looking like. Which, it looks... it looks ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, it looks totally ridiculous, but it also looks totally awesome. I feel like I should put maybe some floating blocks in place that have kind of splashed out. I think that's probably a good move. Yeah, that makes sense. There'll be all blocks like floating in the sky around here. It does look... it looks nuts. Oh, that looks even cooler. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. That looks so nuts. Alright, once we get the area in around this as well, I think that's going to make a big difference. And as I think I mentioned earlier on, my kind of strategy for this is, the idea is that all of the colour is being sucked out of the ground and then is being put into this machine. That is why we're having a lot of grey around it. The machine itself is actually grey, but then the pipelines running in are multicolours. I mean, that's, you know, this is Minecraft. This is pure imagination. We can do what we want. I know that's probably not how it would work in real life if there was such thing as a saturator in real life, but the good news is that there isn't such thing as a saturator in real life, so we're safe. Like, there's nothing that we have to compare it to. Anyway, I think all of the blocks are now in place. Right now, it's very flat, though. I think I'm going to add a little bit more texture, but that is... I think that idea has been executed well, and I think that looks good. I think that looks really, really cool. Yeah, I actually think that's made a huge improvement. I think I will add grey blocks all around the edge. I don't like the fact that we've got that grass rim there. And I think it needs to be a little bit bigger on this side and maybe a little bit bigger out the front. But no, that's a huge improvement. And I think this should also end up looking like a huge improvement too. So I'm just adding a little bit of texture because beforehand there really wasn't too much of it. So by doing all of these slabs, which by the way, I'm so happy we have all of these slabs now. When were they added? Was that Minecraft 1.13 or 14? Fairly certain it was 1.14, but I could be... No, Minecraft 1.13. Whenever they were added, it's fantastic. It's completely changed the way that you can build things like this because you can just chuck them around everywhere. With that being said, I would absolutely love some actually brightly coloured slabs, like concrete slabs and concrete walls. Can you imagine that? Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Much, much better. Fantastic, wicked, brilliant, happy, 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 happy. Let's start work on some of the redstone things for it. And, now that I think about it, how on earth am I going to do the redstone for this thing? How would I put colour back into someone's skin? I must admit, it's not really something that I'm too familiar with, to be honest with you. Well, whatever. Okay, I'll worry about that in the next couple seconds. For now, I just want to make this as fun as possible for the hermits, because obviously it's a little bit scary going into this thing, so we're going to have flying concrete machines and all sorts of sounds and just stuff to make it an interesting experience. How well does this work then? Have I got the timings right? I have not. Do we need... Oh, see, if we need any more ticks than that, it's going to start getting complicated. I'm really hoping... Okay. 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 What can we do there, then? What can we do there, then? Because we have 4 ticks... We could raise this up, but then the piston is going to go across the slime block. So we could shorten the pulse, making use of an observer, maybe. Let's just see if it fires it. It does. It does fire it, but then, of course, yeah, the slime block does get moved out of the way. Oh, we just... An immovable object, surely. No, that won't work, because then it won't update. I think if we shorten the pulse somehow, or alternatively if we make the machine a tiny bit bigger and just add in an extra repeater, it should now all be working. Yes. That's perfect. That is exactly what I was hoping for. So now let's give this thing a full tester with all of the hardened concrete or the concrete powder in place. This is a lot better than I was expecting it to be. It's so silly. But that is actually functioning. So, as you can see, I've now got it hooked up so that it is actually a redstone clock. I am going to have to, I guess if we fill in all of this concrete here. Okay, we'll have to do some extra bits. But that should cover up all of the kind of redstone mechanisms and things. Because they look a little bit ugly. And now that they're covered... That actually looks really, really cool. Awesome. Okay, I've got a few other things in mind. The big one being a color-changing beacon. Now this, I can't do this for too long because these tend to cause huge amounts of lag on the server, but we need to have some form of rainbow crazy beacon underneath this thing which the player is actually going to stand on. So the player is going to stand in the middle and the beacon's going to go straight through them. That's kind of the idea here. So I've mined down a little bit further. You can see there is the redstone up there. So we're about maybe 12, 13 blocks further down. And that's where all the redstone is going to be for this. Now I have absolutely no idea how I plan on doing this, by the way. It has been donkey's years since I built anything like this. I would say... Oh, it's got to be 2015, 2016. I mean, when was it added? When was the ability to change the colour of a beacon beam introduced into the game? Because that has to be... Maybe even 2014, honestly, I have no idea. Right, let's just see what happens here, okay? So if I give this a real quick flick. Honestly, this may look manic. I actually think... I think it is actually... I mean, put it this way, it's definitely going to change the color of the beam. Should we just start throwing glass into this thing and see what happens? Yes, that's 100% what we should do. Okay, and flicking the lever. Definitely seems like I've done something wrong. What on earth has happened? Okay, maybe it wasn't a good idea to just chuck the glass in and see what happens. Let's see what this system does. Alright, so I'm going to chuck an item in here. I mean, look, okay, it may not be the most scientific creation of colour through a beacon beam, but you cannot tell me that that is not a rainbow beacon. That is psychedelic. Amazing. Okay, this is the perfect setup. Goodness me, there's no turning it off. Make it end. Oh, fantastic. Right, so with those components in place, I now have to add some way to activate this thing from inside here, which actually might be a little bit difficult. There's not a whole lot of space, really. Unless it activates just as soon as you go in. I mean, what do we think to that idea? So you kind of have a little button here. You activate it, doors close, everything kicks into gear, everything happens, and then you walk out and it's done? That, to me, actually sounds like the best option. So walking in there is kind of like I'm getting saturated. Good. Okay, I think I've got this worked out. This is such a strange project. Now, the inputs themselves are a little bit on the challenging side, but I think I've come up with a few ideas. So I'm going to need some comparators. I'm going to need some pulse extenders and things. That will activate this top redstone clock, and then we'll have another redstone clock down at the bottom. We'll have to connect all of that together, and then I also want to get some note blocks in. Then we still need to do the bit that actually changes the skins, which after quite a bit of work I think I've just about managed to do. So now we're down to the final details of adding in the note blocks and things, but this machine is now pretty much all completed. And I've got to say, the emerald blocks with their new notes, perfect for this sort of machine. So with those in place, it is now all finished, completed, finito. Let's cover up this final piece of redstone, and that should be everything. Now, I can activate it, but I have to stand on the outside because demise isn't over yet. I can't revive myself while there's still people alive. So check out that beacon go. Cool. Okay, so that is the Saturator. The Saturator is now fully functional. It should all be working. So anybody who enters there while that process is happening, their skin will be resaturated and they will be back to being a member of the alive team. And by that, I just mean they'll be back being alive. There's no teams anymore. They'll just be back being alive. I think that I probably should put some instructions for this thing, though, out the front, just to explain to the hermits exactly what happens here. Welcome to the Saturator. If you're reading this, you're probably dead. You probably have horrible grey skin, and you probably smell. I can't fix the smell, but I can fix your skin with the Saturator. All you have to do is jump inside, the machine will activate automatically, and your skin will be revitalized. Enjoy, Mumbo. Please turn over for some quick disclaimers. I'm away currently and have not had a chance to test the calibration, but I'm sure you'll be fine. I'd say that sounds pretty good. For once, I'm actually using a lectern. I always forget about these things, okay? I've been playing Minecraft for a very long time. It took me a while to adjust to the fact that I could put a book inside an item frame for people to take it out. Now that we have the lectern, it's going to take me another couple years to remember that those exist too. But that is there, so hermits will have to read it. I'll put a sign on the front of it and things like that telling them to read it. But this is it. So this is my saturating machine. Hopefully it all goes well. As I say, I am away, so I'm not going to have a chance to use it until I come back. But I imagine, I mean, we've done it perfectly, haven't we? I've absolutely nailed it. This thing's awesome. So I really do hope that you've enjoyed this Hermitcraft episode. It's been a ton of fun to record, and I look forward to coming back with some saturated skin. Wowzers, that was a challenging build. That was a tricky one. That was one of those builds that I thought was going to be plain sailing. I thought we were going to cruise through it, and then it ended up being a lot more challenging than I expected. but I do imagine that it's going to be popular. I imagine all the hermits will hopefully use it, and I look forward to seeing a fully alive server when I come home, that's for sure.